Welcome to the Love and Light podcast, powered by 103.9 WDKX. I am Lovely Warren, and this is
the Love and Light podcast, and I am Willie Lightfoot. And today we are shining a light on people who give love that never clock out. We talking about caregivers.
And last episode, we talked about Cash App culture. And giving many blessings and burdens. But today we're going to talk about another kind of giving, the giving from the heart.
Yes.
And the giving of your time.
Yes.
And the giving of your whole self.
So this episode, Love on Duty, the caregivers call. So many people, Lovely, are caring for sick, their elderly family members or friends and loved ones. It's love in motion, but it's heavy duty and it's tough work sometimes.
It definitely is tough work sometime. And, you know, we always give a love lifting segment at the beginning of our podcast. And in light of lifting up ourselves and our support for other people, I just wanted to, you know, I know we talked about the Reverend Jesse Jackson and his funeral and all of that, but for other people that took care of him during his time of need, you know,
he was sick for a while, right?
Yeah, he was sick for a while. I would see, you know, him with his caregivers, them pushing him around, them making sure that he's okay. And so today we just want to uplift all the caregivers in our community.
Out there.
Yes. So those LPNs, the RNs, the doctors, the nurses, the CNAs, just the home caregivers, all of you. We truly want to tell you thank you for all that you do to take care of the most vulnerable population among us.
Yes, 103.9 WDKX 11 Light podcast. We're going to ask, who are the people in your family that's always showing up, even when they're tired? We want you to text us your story at 585-678-1039, or you can use the open mic on the WDKX app, But the first segment that we're talking about here, when we talk about Love on Duty and the Caregivers Call, the caregiving landscapes. We want to kind of talk about the landscape of caregiving. Let's start with the bigger picture. Over 50 million Americans are providing unpaid care for adults over 50.
It's true. I mean, when you think about the fact that you have such an aging population, right? So you have the baby boomers that are all aging out of and going into retirement. You have many people that are now getting hip replacements, knee replacements. You have more instances of Alzheimer's and dementia and other things. And so a lot of people, especially in, you know, the African-American and the Black community, and you know, they keep their loved ones at home, right? They try to, at least, right? And so when you're talking about the average person, the average caregiver being 52 years old and providing care to their loved one, I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. It's been over 22 hours, the average is, and statistics of caring for someone that they love. The economic value is over $1 trillion a year in the economic value. And that's love that we can't put a price on. When you love your loved one, to talk about the value of that. And even people, like you said, they're trying to save oftentimes because people want to age in place. They want to age at home. Very few people, when we hear these horror stories of some of these nursing homes, you know, it makes you think about, you know, we may be young now, but at some point, Lord willing, we'll be at a place where, you know, hopefully our children just, you know, don't. And we understand that there's times when families have to do that. I get that, right? And I'm not saying that aging in home oftentimes is conducive for everyone. And nursing homes and facilities like that have their place. But I think most people, if they had it their way, would like to be home with their family, aging in their own home or in a place that they're very comfortable and familiar with.
Yeah, and it's very hard. And we know that the person wants to age in place, right? But 41% of caregivers report that there is low life value for them, right? Because their entire lives wrap around caregiving and providing, you know, assistance to a loved one. And, you know, 71% of them are struggling financially.
That's a lot.
And that is right. That is a lot of people that are struggling financially they're probably hurting mentally and physically themselves,
Yes.
right? But they're still trying to care for a loved one.
And for me, like I always often say, who cares for the caregiver?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a kind of twofold situation here. There's the person that's needing care, and of course that's going through these financial situations that are also the family is also dealing with as well. But then it's that person whose whole life has changed as a result of them caring for their loved one.
Yeah. And so when you talk about, the next segment where we talk about real voices and real stories about what's happening out there in the community. So my mom was a caregiver, right? Okay. My mom worked as a certified nursing assistant at many of the nursing homes. She did private duty work and all that. And sometimes her private duty work, she would, bring me, my sister to those locations or bring them home with her. And one person that I remember vividly had Alzheimer's. And, there were times where, you could see, why, the family had a caregiver, had, provided that money and all that, because she still thought that she was married. Her husband had been dead for 30 years. Wow. Right. She would try to leave and say, "Look, I'm going home." And we would say, like, "Well, where do you live? Like, where are you going?" And she would be talking about going to her home with her husband, and that she had to take care of her daughter, and she had to take her, get her daughter off the bus for school. So a whole segment of her life had literally just not been there any longer. Yes. And that is hard. Can you imagine walking in the door and your mom not knowing who you are? You know what I mean? Like, or referring to you as somebody else. And, and you're trying to tell her, another situation was a family member, we were at, her husband's funeral, right? And she was suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. And, we're at the funeral and she's like, "Where is such and such?" Then said the name. And, to me, and I'm like, he in a casket. Right. You know what I mean? And so there's these stories of that's just heartbreaking, because now you have to break that person's heart over and over and over again, to the point where now they're saying that just don't tell them. Don't tell them like that the person's passed away. Don't tell them that they're no longer here, because it's reliving that moment that they found out that their loved one passed over and over again.
Real stories, real people. It's very intimate. It's very personal. When I think of, as a pastor and pastoring a church that is very seasoned and aged, a lot of my church members are caring for others. I see the strain. I have friends that have literally had to quit their jobs that they love, because they love their parents, or they had to literally stop working and stop doing something they love in order to care for someone else that they love, whether it's a mom, a father, or a family member, or whatnot. And it's changed their life significantly, and it has such a psychological and emotional impact on people, that these are the real heroes. These are heroes oftentimes that, and this show is all about talking about things that people don't talk about, or they don't talk about nearly enough. And here's something that people don't talk about nearly enough. These heroes of these real stories, these caregivers out here who I've heard stories of people that literally will pull up before they go into their loved one space and be crying in the car, because
you have to prepare yourself for it, right? You have to be prepared for what you're getting ready to walk into.
Yes.
And the caregivers are so, themselves emotionally fragile, because it literally takes a lot. Like my mom was sick most of our lives, especially our adult lives. She had sarcoidosis, which is an autoimmune disease. And so she would be back and forth into the hospital and things like that. And the latter years, right? When I was working, my sister lived in Maryland. My Aunt Margie like stepped into that role. Like my mom and her.
Somebody got to step up.
Somebody stepped in, right?
Yeah.
And she lived in the house on Jefferson Avenue. They basically, they had separate beds, but they were living in the same room so that they can keep an eye on one another and all of that. And so that's love. That, you know, that right there is something that you can't quantify in money.
That's right.
But it's that type of caregiving that is definitely needed in the community. And we want to make sure that we're thanking them for their support.
Yes, love on duty. This is the call of caring for people, recognize and realize. But I want to say this to those caregivers though. Even Jesus had to take some time off and rest, you know, and it's important, it's imperative that these caregivers, you know, like we hear the cliche saying all the time about, you know, when if a plane is going down and the mask come down, you know, you have to put your own mask on first in order to be in a position to help your neighbor. And in this situation here, these caregivers oftentimes are sacrificing their own health and well-being, if you will, because they got to work. They may have children, they may have family, they got responsibilities just like everybody else, and then they have this additional care that they have to do for someone. And I just want to encourage them to make sure that we don't even imagine how 1 hour. Somebody coming in and filling in for 1 hour, giving them a 1 hour break or a half a day break or letting them go away for 2 days or something.
Some respite care, right?
You have
and
to have
so
that.
we, you know, I think that that's one of the things that we want to encourage people, right? So if you know that you have a loved one that is the primary caregiver for a family member, right? And you have some time, you have 2 to 3 hours, or you have a day or overnight, and you can take that weight off of that loved one, do it.
Yes.
You know, don't hesitate to do it. And don't ask. Don't say like, oh, let me know what you need. You know, because they're always going to say like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yes.
Well, really, they're not.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right. They're not. They're not going to say, can you come over and give me a break? It's like a young, like a mother, right? With the child that's never had a child before. It's new to them. And that's why, you know, grandparents, you know, would come, or you know, the mother of the person giving birth would come, because they want to make sure that, hey, you're good, you know, and you don't ask, you just do it.
You just do it. You just do it. Love on Duty, the Caregivers Call, episode 55, the Love and Light podcast. Now we talk about the cost of caring. I know we talked a little bit about that before, but I just want to bring to attention, because these numbers were staggering to me, that many caregivers, as we said before, they leave their jobs or they cut in their hours. The average out-of-pocket cost is $7,200 a year. 40% of the caregivers are increasing stress, anxiety. That's why self-care isn't selfless, it's survival. You have to take care of yourself in order for you to continue to help taking care of other people.
And I think that this is, you know, we all talk about healthcare and the cost of healthcare and all of that, right? And, you know,
which is changing significantly, right?
It bothers me because, you know, under the Affordable Care Act, and, you know, you could say what you want to say about Obamacare,
right?
But it provided for funding and provisions for family caregivers, right? Where, you know, you just talked about how the financial toll and people taking money out of their pocket and all that, where it literally provided for funding for family caregivers to be able to take care of their loved ones, stay home if they needed to take care of their loved ones. And it was actually more financially stable than it was a relief to the healthcare system to pay home family caregivers more than it was to send them to the nursing home and things like that. So financially, it made better sense for a government to continue to pay this money to caregivers, home caregivers, or family caregivers. And all of that basically is going away.
We're heading in a whole different direction.
Yeah.
Which instead of saving money, instead of helping people's quality of life, we're going to end up costing more money and deteriorating people's quality of life. So we want to say that there's help out there though, right?
Yeah.
So there's light at the end of the tunnel. What type of resources can we say and help the people as far as things that, you know, that are out there for them?
So like I said, you know, so I would say for people to make sure that you're paying attention to what's happening in Congress and the federal government around this financing for family caregivers. But at this point in time, the National Family Caregiver Support Program, it offers training, counseling, and respite care. Right here, if you're in Rochester, in Monroe County, Lifespan has a respite care program. You have Elder Care Locator, which connects families to local resources and services. And you also have day programs, right? You have a number of day programs. I mean, your church has a day program that,
and Lifespan comes in once a month to assess for people what their needs are. They do a lot of great work, and I'm one that I can actually speak and say that they do a great job with folks. And I think the point that you brought out was very important, was just paying attention, first of all, to not only what's going on in Congress, but families paying attention to checking on families too. Like, we all know who that person is that's stepping up. Everybody knows. Right. So, you know, it's okay to reach out to that person and help. When we talk about respite and giving them, oftentimes that could come internally. It doesn't have to come from an organization.
Right.
You yourselves and those in the family can give that person a respite, can give that person that 1 hour, that 1 day, that half a day. Pay attention to the signs and don't just think, oh, Aunt Betty or Uncle John, they've been taken care of and they got it. But you don't realize how much they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can't, right? And I would say that for those people that know that there are support options out there, right? There's different support agencies as we listed above, but also just places. It is good for our seniors and our most vulnerable to get out of the house, to go to a day program, to you know, and it's free of cost, right? To go and have lunch with other people, other seniors. It's what, and y'all go bowling.
We go bowling. We go to the movies. We go fishing.
Sometimes you take them to the casino.
No, we haven't done the casino yet. Not yet.
Some of our seniors, like to go to the casino, and you know, some of the programs do that. So I must say that here in Rochester, Monroe County, Lifespan, Elder Care, you know, in supporting these senior programs, like at the Montgomery Center, like at Prayer House, like at you know, some of the nursing
There's
programs.
over 19 senior meals programs in the county of Monroe. The County Office of Aging has a wealth of different resources that are out there. I think we also mentioned or didn't mention Alzheimer's .gov for those that may be dealing with those types of issues as well. It's also available. But you got to get connected. You got to open up your mouth and speak up and say, hey, I need help. I need assist. Even the caregivers, we're saying, even the we really want to highlight the fact that these caregivers are the hidden heroes out there. And this caregiving is love in motion. It's a ministry in real life. It's real life ministry when you're caring for someone you love and for others.
And if you want to share your story, feel free to call the WDKX line at 585-678-103.9. It's not 103.9.
Go to the app. Go to the app. Use the open mic feature to be able to tell some of your stories. Submit your videos through the app. Is very user friendly and it's interactive. And so we want you to check this out. We want to hear your stories. We said we're giving you the stories that you're giving us. That's what we're coming with this year. We've been intentional about making sure that our topics are the things that our listeners and viewers, and you guys have been giving us some great stuff. Hope you're enjoying it. We want to hear you. Like, share, follow the Love and Light podcast. And we had a great show. I'm glad we were able to bring this to light.
Absolutely. And so if you are a caregiver and you're looking for support here in Rochester, Monroe County, feel free to call Lifespan or Elder Care. You can also call the Monroe County Office of the Aging. There's a lot of support here in Monroe County and Rochester, New York to help you with this. We say kudos to you, and we love you, and keep it up.
And remember, you can't put a lampshade on the sun. Keep your light shining. God bless you.
This is a Love and Light podcast powered by 103.9 WDKX.